This is another general hardware manufacturing company, number 715. This is a little, it's got a scale on the side and then it's decimal equivalents, and then on the back there's a reference table, tap and drill sizes. A scalpel, because you never know when you might have to, do some precise work. Gasket cutting or template cutting or something, I don't know. This is a, well, it was marked $2. Alright, I don't know what that is, guys. I don't know what that is. Does anybody know? See the geometry of that sucker? How about that? Bench block, I think, is what they call this. And the ones that I've seen were Starrett's. This one is not, doesn't appear to be marked anywhere. But I think they call this a bench block or something like that. But the idea is, if you got something, you need to, say I wanted to have that stay put while I center punched it or something. This is a very specialized something made for some job, and I'll probably never ever figure out what it's for. I just don't know. This little baby micrometer seems very cheaply made. I swear this says handy on it. That's more of a novelty than anything. Be nice if it's a rare collectible, but I don't think. Alright. Oh, okay. Hold on. I was about to say I have no idea what this is, and then I just realized it's got a square hole here and a grub screw in the end, so obviously whatever goes through that square hole can be tightened in there by the grub screw. And this part right here can be moved in and out, and you retighten this grub screw after you get it adjusted to where you want. This obviously could be chucked in a collet, or this. So depending on what size collet you happen to have in there, you could use either one of these sides. This is for cutting a circle, I would think. But where's the cutter that goes in there? There's a Mayhew, made in USA. I don't know what that is. It's an interesting tool. Look at that thing. I don't know what that is, guys. I like being able to know, being able to figure out what most of these tools are, but that's perplexes me. It doesn't have a sharp edge like a chisel. So if anybody knows what that is, please let me know. Mayhew. I might have to Google that. It might come right up. I don't know. Sometimes you get lucky like that. What's in this nice little box here? Small hole gauge. Oh yeah, these are nice. The small hole gauges. So what you do is, these when they're not being used are supposed to be left loose, my understanding is. But anyways, what you do is this has got a wedge shape area on the bottom here, and as you tighten this, the wedge gets pulled in and it pushes these ball edges out. So if you got a hole, for instance, on my little thing here, okay, you find one that fits the hole correctly. There we go, this one. So I'm going to loosen this until, well, alright, it's not going to fit in there no matter what. It's too big for that hole. Now you know why you need a whole set. Alright, this one fits this hole. And then you would mic the outside of this ball to see what the dimension of that hole is. And then this is another style here. This uses the... I don't know why my camera just shut off. That's strange. Alright, yeah, so these are little ball gauges. Usually these come in a set in a little plastic packet, like if they're sterets or whatever. This box has just got these aluminum plugs and just some more balls. There's a funky tap. Alright, no real hidden gems in there. Little cutters. Another tap handle. Looks like... no, it's different than this one. Machinist clamp. Looks like a homemade job there. Doesn't have thumb screws and... That's a orphan. This is a something Reed Small Tool Works, Worcester, Mass. I think it says Reed Small Tool Works, Worcester, Mass. Hey, that's a clamp. How do you like that? Guy made a clamp. How do you like that even more? 2 clamps. Like a brass. Oh, what are the odds? Another countersink. Oh yeah, look how small that cutter has been ground. And he's got this little block, a hole drilled in it, and a grub screw. Boy, talk about precision work. It's like some kind of homemade tap handle, maybe. Here's a die holder. It's knurled, so you can grab it and turn it and run it by hand. But it's also got these slots in it, probably to put a Tommy bar right through and use a screwdriver or whatever. That is an old screwdriver there. This is, it's all taped up, but it's just a whole bunch of whatever these things are. Some sort of wedges. Huh. Old-fashioned glass cutter. A bunch of unidentified hardware and stuff. I'm not going to bore you with that. Cheap level. I don't know what that is. That looks like a really little cutting wheel. That was ground for... it was a boring bar that was ground for a specific job. 2 fishtails, a sterret, and a 2 sterrets. A number 391 and a... well, they're both number 391s. That's nice. I've got the fishtails. I don't think I have a sterret fishtail, believe it or not. I think all the fishtails I've gotten to this point are... I don't know, Craftsman or something, or just give you a quick look at kind of junk that I'm looking at in this box. It's making me think it's time to call this a wrap. Let's see. Well, let's see what's in this box right here, but I don't see anything else to get excited about. Although at this point, I don't know what I expect. It's a very small ball end mill. Looks like it originally started its life out as a two-sided one, and one side broke off. This says 4 flute single end, but then somebody crossed that out because they just wanted to use this. This is a 1/8 radius ball mill. Alright, so that's that. As you can see, I got nothing to complain about. I did well on this lot. Oh my. Oh, hold the phone. Got a little addendum here to this. What was left in here, which just looked like a pile of junk, turns out, after combing through it a little more carefully, I found a whole, well, I'm not sure about this one here, but these little suckers right here, I'm pretty sure these are all small knurling wheels for a knurler, which unfortunately is not among the items in there. But I will set those aside. And then, oops, just dropped one. And some more of these little tiny cutters. So it's more like a slitting saw. And also, I found not one, but these 2 nice looking threaded rods with nice knurled handles on them, and one's got a point and one doesn't, and I'm thinking, where is it? How about this here machinist clamp that has these regular screws in it, which would make this a pain in the butt to use. Yep, that's a fit. These fit, but this still doesn't seem to work correctly. When I go to put this away with the rest of my machinist clamps, I'll take a look at them and see if I can't figure out. Throw those screws in there. And then also, here's this is a little, not sure exactly what this is, but this looks to me like it goes on maybe a blade of a machinist's square or something. Not quite sure exactly what. It's marked E-28 on it, but that's engraved in there by hand, so that doesn't necessarily mean anything. But that's what I think that little doohickey is. And then, you know, there were little scraps of metal like this right here that might even be high-speed steel, I don't know. So I didn't notice it right away, but then when I looked more closely, I spotted like that one, and then I spotted that it's stamped .625, so that's a gauge block. It's polished ground on these 2 surfaces for sure. So looks like maybe somebody made a homemade gauge block set. There's that one, and then there's this one. This one is 7/8 polished on these 2 surfaces, so that's 7/8. Unfortunately, there's just the 2. Then there's this little thing here. So I don't know what the deal is with this. It's got a concave hole on that side and a small concave hole on this side, and it comes to in the middle of the hole it meets. What this looks like is a bearing splitter, but it looks like the smallest one. I mean, it would have to be for something really tiny. So I don't know if that's a watchmaker's thing or what. Once I fish them all out and put them in a container, there's a lot of grub screws in here. That's a really small milling cutter. that a half center for a really small lathe? There's a nice, nicely executed job, if it's shop made, of an Allen wrench, long handle, obviously for a very specific job. There must have been some fixture or something that stayed with. That looks like maybe a seal puller. I think that's about the end of what's in here. Other than, like I said, I'll sort out these high-speed steel bits and put them away, and the grub screws and a little pry bar. Alright, now I'm ready to call this done. Oh, I had to turn the camera on and show you. I just finished taking everything out of there, and there were a few other items I came across that I wanted to share. This is a it's like a homemade scraper, a tri-corner. I don't know. You know what? That looks like that started out its life as a tri-cornered file, and he ground that. Somebody ground that to a point and made that into a nice. Nice scraper. And then this thing here, some sort of, I don't know if it's a punch or not. Doesn't look like it's got hammer marks from being hit on the back very hard. But looks pretty specialized, whatever it is, and it's marked clearly Tampin number 10. Tampin number 10. So hopefully I'll be able to Google that and find out what that is. Then there's this thing here. This is an interesting little punch or something also. This does look like it's been hit with a hammer. But the nose on it, and unfortunately I know this isn't going to come out on video, instead of coming to a point completely, it's got a little cupped out area ground on one side. So that seems pretty specialized. Now, this may have started life out as a simple punch. In other words, the handle sure looks like maybe it's just a punch. And then, I don't know if it broke, but it looks like maybe it broke and then he ground this for another job, or he just cut this off and ground it to make this into some kind of specialized tool. More evidence of how small the work was that this guy was doing. Look at that little drill bit holder. And this back part is cut to a taper. So that might actually have fit in a tiny tailstock on a jeweler's lathe maybe. This is also got a taper on the back and looks like it fits in a tailstock. And that actually looks like a center. You know? So, I don't know. Look at this little wedge of metal right here. Sure looks like a rocker from a tiny lantern-style tool post. This is just, I think this is a center punch. I think the deal is with this that if you have a hole of exactly the right size for this to fit in, transfer punch, I think this might have been. You know, it looks homemade, but I think that's what the purpose would have been of this. This is an unusual, specialized little tool that I have no idea what it's for. It comes to a needle point on this end, and then it's got a hole through it here, and then on this end it's got a very specialized shape to it. It's got like a little hook. I don't even know how to describe the shape of that, but it's a very specialized little tool. It looks like maybe this is for pulling. It almost looks like it would have the purpose of pulling a pulling a string or a fiber through, like maybe if you push this through leather and you wanted to pull a thread through it. I don't know. Then there's this little tool here. It's a shame the handle's split because this is a really old, neat little, like a pin vise. The way this works is you pull this brass collar back, and these jaws spring open, and you put what you want to hold in there. And I don't know if I got anything even that small hanging around here. There's a indentation there, so if you want to hold something at a 90-degree angle to the end here, just put it in like that. Or conversely, I'm sure if you wanted to, you could hold something. No, it's not really made to hold anything on the end. It's got a definite purpose of holding something very small. But I thought that was a kind of neat design the way that worked. But the handle is split down the length there. Alright, now we're done.